So in our React basic project series, this will be the project number 2, which is a weather app. In this app, we will use API and we will use effect in this project for the first time. So let's see what the functionality is inside this weather app. So whenever I will type a city, let's type New York, or a country also, you can type, the data will be here. So you can see the New York and its temperature and its condition. Let's type New Delhi. So now you can see it is New Delhi, temperature is 33.9 degrees Celsius and the condition is partially cloudy. So let's create it. So I have cleared this app.jsx. Let's write the code here. You also try to write the code by your own, because in the interviews they will not allow you to, I mean some of the companies allow you to use their personal ID, or else most of the companies will ask you to do coding in some online ID where you will not get all the shortcuts. You have to write all the codes by your own. So const app, let's create app, return statement, let's export it, export default app. Now inside this return statement, we will firstly need one container inside which we will contain all of these things. So let's create a div, let's give a class name to it, and the class name will be class name, the class name is weather app container. After this, what we need one input field where we will search for the city's name or the country's name. So we will write input, and inside this input field, for now what we will write the type will be text. And after this input field, what we will write one h2 tag, inside which, or we can write this h2 tag above this input field, so it will look a little bit of better. So h2, and inside this we will write weather information. Let's go to our development server. Here you can see it's looking like this. And after this, what we will do, we will fetch the API first. We will fetch the data from the API first. So let's do that. So we will create one function, const fetch forecast. Inside this we'll write one arrow function, and the arrow function will contain the API. But before doing that, we should keep in mind that the API might give some errors also. So to handle the errors, what we will do, we will use try and catch here. So firstly we will use the async await here. So let's write async, and inside this try, we will write a variable const response, and inside this variable we will fetch the API. So here we need to write await. After this, what we need to write, we will create one condition for the error handling. So the condition will be if response is not okay, then what we need to do, throw an error, and the error will be throw new error. An error, you can write anything, whatever you need, whatever you wish to show as an error. I will write fail to fetch weather data. And after this, what we need to do, we have to change this data into JSON format. So for that we will again take a variable, and name of the variable I will keep as JSON data, and again we have to use await response dot JSON. Now let's use console log and try to show this data in the console. But before that, what we need to do, it's showing some error. It's showing it might be asking to use the catch or finally. So what we will do, we will write the catch statement here. You can see it's showing error catch or finally expected. So catch, inside catch there will be error, and inside error we will write a console error, console dot error, and inside this we will write error fetching weather data. So now before consoling it inside the console, what we need to do, we have to call this function so that we can see the data in the console and we can do further actions. To call this function, what we need now, we need use effect. So in the most of the time when you will use effect is during the API calls or during fetching some data only. So use effect, and it has one dependency array, but now we will keep this dependency array empty because we need to call this fetch forecast function only one time here. Further in this project we will see that we need to call this use effect more than one times, and it will depend on something. Then we will write that variable here that will become the dependency for this use effect hook. So we have to import this use effect hook. So import use effect from React. So inside this use effect we will simply call this function, which is fetch forecast. So let's go to the development server and let's see what comes inside this console.log. So we are getting data, and it is containing all of the data which the API is giving to us. Here you can see the name of the city is London, region is city of London, and the temperature might be here. Its temperature is also showing here. So let's work further on this. So now what we need to do, we need to save this JSON data, we need to show this JSON data inside our body, but before that we have to save it inside a state so that we can use that state to set the value and to show it somewhere in our project. So for that, what we need to do, we need to first create one state. The name of the state will be, the variable name will be data, and set data use state. Inside this we will pass these curly braces. So I have to import the use state here. So we will import use state from React. So now we will do, we will set this data here, like set data, and the data will be JSON data. Now let's see this inside of the development server, but before showing that inside our development server, what we need to do, we need to write some thing inside our body. So, and inside that we will show our data. So we will create another div, and inside this div we will write some of the things, and the first thing will be, we will write one p tag. Inside this p tag we will write city name. It will be city name, and to show this data, what we need to do, we need to write data.location, and we will check this. If data.location is available, then we will write data.location dot name. And here you can see it is showing London. Like this we can show other data also. So another thing what I want to show is the temperature of the city. So again we will take one p tag, and inside this we will write temperature, and to show data what we will need is data.current, if data.current is there, and data.current dot temp underscore c, and we will write one degree Celsius here. So let's go to our development server. Here you can see it is showing the temperature also. and after that we will need to show this condition, that what's the condition of the weather there. It's cloudy, sunny, or might be raining condition. That this condition we need to check three things, that data dot current should be there, and data dot current dot condition, and also data dot current dot condition dot text. Now let's go to our development server. So now you can see here the condition for this London is clear. Let's check for Meghalaya. So how we can do, we can just simply go to this. If you want to change the city or state, we just simply need to go to here and we have to write the place for which we want to see this data. So for Meghalaya, it is light rain shower and the temperature is 20.2 degrees Celsius. It will not show the exact state if you write the state, or if you write the country name, it will not show the country name, it will show the capital of that country, or it will show, if we are writing the state, then it will show the capital of that state. So now what we need to do, as you are able to see that there is something lagging here, and the thing that is lagging is that we need to go here and change the city name. So what we need to do, we need to make this dynamic, that we will change this city name dynamically. So to do that, what we need to do, I have already kept it in backticks. So what we will use, we will write here simply $sign and curly braces, and inside this we will pass one variable name and it will be city. So we have to, as we have passed city here, so we have to create a state for this city also. So let's create it, use constant city and set city data. This use state has this variable, and this set city sets the value of this variable. State will be empty string. So we have to use this city data in such a way so that when we type the, so we have to use that city data in such a way that when we type it any name of the city, okay, we have to create one button also. Let's create it, so that when we type any name of the city and we click on that button, then we should get the data of that city. So let me add the button below this input field, and the button will be search. So now you can see it is here. Let me enable my CSS file. I will give all of these codes to you and you can access the CSS file from there only. I will not teach CSS that much. I'm getting some errors. So I have enabled the CSS. Now let's go to our development server. It is looking very awesome. So now what we need to do, I will give all these codes in the description. You can go there. I will be giving you a link. You can click on that and you can go to an article. Inside that article, I will be explaining all of these things, all of this project, all of the CSS, all of the JavaScript, all of the JSX, everything. And you can get the code from there only. So let's create our app further. So till now what we have done, we have created this city variable and we have to use this city variable. So to set this city data dynamically here, what we need to do, whatever we will type inside the input field, we have to take that value and we have to use that value, and we will use that value here. So for that, what we need to do, we need to get this value of this input field. So how we will get the value of this input field, we will write value is equal to input value. Again, I am creating one state inside which we will contain this input field value. It will be const input value set input value and it will be use state and it will be empty. So now what we need to do, we have to set this input value. So for that, what we will do, we have to create one handler here, which will be on change handler. So on change handle, let's write input value, handle input value. So let's define this function, this handle input value. So we'll write const handle input value. Inside this we will write an arrow function. Inside this arrow function, what we will do, we will write, we will get the access of this event here. Inside this we will set the input field value. We will set input value, and what will the input value, it will be event dot target dot value. So what this event will target, this event will target this input field, because this on change handler is inside this input field, and we will take the value of this input field. So we have written event dot target dot value. Now what, one more thing which we need to do, so let me explain this. So when we call, previously when we are calling this fetch forecast, we were calling it only one time, but now whenever our client or whenever the user of this app will click on that input field, so and write some city name, and we have created one of that city variable, write some city name, this for fetch forecast should be called again and again. So the dependency will be this city, and we have to also check one condition here, that if city is not equal to empty, then only pass this. We have got some error, let me see. Okay, I'm checking the string value, so I have to use this equal to 2 times. So now let's go further. We have solved this issue, this use effect issue. So now what we were doing, we were using this handle input value. So inside this button, what we need to do, we need to write one on click function, that whenever someone writes something inside the input field and click on this button, then we should perform certain thing, and the thing will be, we will forecast weather. So let's define this thing also. We have to write a function for this functionality. So const forecast weather, and it will be an arrow function, and inside this also we will take the access of this event, and whenever anybody clicks on this, then what we need to do, we need to set the city to be this input value, which is inside this. So we have to create one array here, input value dot trim. We will trim all the spaces. And one more thing we need to do, we need to set this input value to be empty string. Why? Because whenever we will write something inside this input value and we will click on the search button and we have the data, we don't need that input value data to be there only. That we don't need that whatever the client has used written there in the input field. We need to remove that after we have got the data. So we are doing this. So let's go to our development server and check it's working or not. So city will be London again, and it's working absolutely fine. And one more thing, let me write New Delhi. The API is taking a little bit of time, but it's working fine. It's not our issue. It's working. It's the issue from the API side. So one more thing what I need to add is whenever we click, like, let me show in the development server only, like see when I'm using, let's see Mumbai, and when I'm clicking on this search button, then only the data is coming here. But I want one more functionality, that whenever I click on this, like let's type Goa, whenever I click Goa and whenever I click on the enter button, then this should show the data. Now when I'm clicking on this enter button, it's not showing the data. So this is your task to do. Whenever I click on this enter button, the data should be visible. So you add this functionality. So it's very easy. Let me give you some of the hint. Telling you will get the codes in the description. You will get a link there. You have to click on that link and you will get an article there, and I will explain all of this functionality, all of these CSS files there, and I will also provide the code inside that article only. You can copy the code from there only.